Welcome to the Gamebreak Now podcast, where tomorrow's NBA stars shine today. I am your host, Cody Ramsey, and I'm joined here with my co-host, Stephen Bagel from the One and Done podcast, and a very special guest, Anthony Dell'Orso. Anthony is a 6'6", 190-pound guard from the University of Arizona. Coming from Melbourne, Australia, Anthony played at Campbell University, where he would be awarded Big South Freshman of the Year in 2023 and second team All CAA this past season. Anthony averaged 19.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 2 assists on shooting splits of 50, 38, and 81. Thank you for joining us today, Anthony.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, getting into it, getting to know you and your background. Anthony, tell me about your basketball journey and what got you into the sport and how your passion has grown over the years.
Yeah, so I grew up obviously in Australia, played a whole range of sports, pretty much everything you can think of, basketball, Australian football, soccer, cricket, everything. And yeah, kind of was always a short kid, so I kind of stuck around basketball and football. And then I hit about 16 and I was like, I'll try basketball out, see what happens. And then COVID kind of happened a couple of years later. I was still short, and then COVID came, I grew, and it kind of helped me a little bit. And then, yeah, I just, played high school and played over there, and then was lucky enough to get an opportunity at Campbell.
Awesome, Anthony. Great insight. Is there any specific player that you either model your game after, or who's your favorite players, either currently, historically, and then, as I said, who would you say you model your game after?
Yeah, I never really watched much basketball, to be honest. So I never really modeled my game off someone. Now I like to watch, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Doncic, Tatum, Spurts of LaMelo. Like, I watch all those guys, but just to see what they do, see how they play, some, moments that I can kind of take out of their game. But I wouldn't really say I modeled really off anyone. I kind of just did my own thing, and then, it kind of took me to where I am.
I love to hear that. That's amazing, staying in your own path and your own journey. You said that you grew up playing quite a few sports. Were you able to apply any of those sports to basketball? I know that sometimes you hear, Steve Nash was a soccer player and stuff like that. Were you able to apply any of those, attributes from any other sports to basketball?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of sports translate to basketball. We have Australian football back home, which is very common for people to play both and then kind of choose their path as they get older. So I find that kind of helped me a lot, hand-eye coordination, speed of the game, just kind of understanding like how to read plays. I would say that started at an early age for me because I was always around those two sports. Obviously, other sports help too, but I think those two sports were the biggest thing in getting me ready for basketball. Obviously, growing and stuff that helps, but that's uncontrollable. So, but yeah, definitely sports like that. I'd say Australian football definitely helped me a lot.
And when you started really taking basketball seriously, how tall were you? Because I know right now you're about 6'6".
Yeah, so me and my buddies, we came on an American trip when I was 16, just for the fun of it. We didn't really take basketball too seriously. We had no idea about colleges. We literally just came here and just like, oh, we'll go on a holiday and play some basketball while we're on holiday. And I was probably 5'7", 5'8". Like I was short. I was always skinny and medium size for that age. But yeah, it was tough. And then COVID happened, and I probably grew in our summer, which is Christmas time. In 2 months, I probably grew 5 inches, 5.5 inches, and then it kind of took off, and then kind of got where I'm at now.
Let me ask Anthony, because you hear like Anthony Davis, for example, like obviously now he's in your 7-footer, but he grew up, he had a massive growth spurt in high school as well, where he used to play point guard because he was the size of a point guard, and that's why he has the perimeter skills he has. So, does that benefit you, given that you were smaller So you had to like develop those guard skills. And now that you're more of a wing size, you still, maintain those perimeter skills.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's, in my opinion, that's the best thing that can happen to someone, starting off small and then, training as a guard and then growing and developing those, wing attributes or those big attributes. I mean, for me, I grew up a point guard my whole life, like, doing every cone drill you can imagine, every ball handling drill, tennis ball, you name it. And then I grew and it was like, oh, someone else can do this now, so like, but I still had the skills. Those skills don't go away. So I think that's the best. That's probably the best, one of the best things that's happened to me, being able to be a guard and then translate just to anything. Because now I can play 1, 2, 3, stretch the floor if we have to. Like that's one of the best things that is uncontrollable, but I'm glad it turned out that way.
Yeah, and I know some of the guys you mentioned when we just asked you, who do you watch? SGA, Luca, LaMelo Ball, those are all like jumbo size playmakers, really.
Yeah.
Obviously they do more than just play make. Did you have the chance to watch LaMelo when he was playing for the Illawarra?
No, I didn't see him in person.
Okay.
I knew he was there. Obviously, he played in a team that was a little bit away from me, so he played in my city a couple times a year. Couldn't get tickets to those games, but I never seen him play. I just obviously online and stuff, but not in person.
Okay.
But him coming home changed the game, changed the league. It boosted that basketball part of the world insanely.
Yeah, so let's segue that real quick then. Obviously, you had a very successful senior year at Marcelin in
Hmm.
Australia, where you averaged 30, 12, 4, 3 steals, earned MVP honors. How has, and again, you just mentioned like LaMelo Ball, how big he was for like the NBL and the development of young players in Australia. And ever since he came over, obviously Josh Giddey's another example. Dyson Daniels is. I mean, there's so many guys. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah,
But how has like Australian basketball grown the past 10 years?
yeah. I mean, it's taking steps that I think people wouldn't have thought it would take. Obviously Lamelo and I forget his name, but RJ something came.
Hampton.
Hampton, RJ Hampton came with him. When those two came, it kind of put a stamp on like, okay, this is a chance for people to take a different route. Like, not, you don't always have to go to college or go to Europe. That kind of changed how people thought about it. And then obviously they got drafted, and it was like, okay, this is a legitimate way. If you want to do something different, kids don't want to go to school or whatever the case is, this is a different route. And then after following them, it was like obviously Giddy came through, other people kind of on the uprise. They started a Next Stars program, which is getting people now from all around the world, guys from Spain, guys from France, which would never happened, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. That would never have happened. So that totally changed. But even there's people that kind of have been at the pros or on that kind of edge of being a pro, a little bit older guys, more vets. They're coming back to play in the NBL. Guys like Jack White, Dang, like some guys like that. They're kind of like, all right, I'm there. I'm not getting as much sort of rep as I want. Let me go down the NBL, dominate for a year or two, get my, work on my skills, get better, and then I'll come back. And it's not like they're heading to Australia and they're just forgotten about. It's like they're heading to Australia and they're being watched every game. There's scouts coming to practices. They're enjoying a great lifestyle. Like it's really changed the whole game in the last, I would say even 5 years.
Yep. Okay, awesome stuff.
Yeah, no, you see that explosion. I mean, Andrew Bogut was kind of the first guy that you see
Yeah.
really coming over stateside from Australia and putting them on the map. And then that explosion over the past, yeah, like you said, 5 years, even. I mean, with the Next Stars program, they have a great group of guys this year, last year, I mean, going back. So that's really cool to see. Now, kind of transitioning a little bit more about your story. What was the recruitment process like coming out of high school as a foreign-born player?
Yeah, it was different. I was the year after COVID. I was just playing back home. I had just finished high school. We finished high school in end of November, start of December, and obviously college doesn't start till August or July for summer. So I had about 7 months or so of basically nothing. I had nothing going on, no school. and I was just trying to get some offers. Playing high school, finished that, and then followed my coach to play in a semi-pro men's league. Obviously playing with a bunch of grown men, and they were, some of them were getting paid, some weren't. It was just a pretty competitive, especially for me. I was 18 at the time, 17, turning 18. Like I was still pretty young. So playing against those guys helped me a lot. But I had no offers. And my plan was to come to America around the May, June stage and play some tournaments. Unfortunately, I got hurt start of February, and I just a small injury in my knee, but I had to get surgery for it, and it set me back about 4 weeks. So because of that, I wasn't able to go to America, I wasn't able to play anymore. And it kind of like I had no offers at this point. It was late, so I just came back, kept playing my men's league, started posting my game clips on YouTube, just every game, just uncut film, 2 hours of YouTube footage. Had my stats in the description, name, LLAT, height, weight, everything. And then got to about June and I had no offers. And I have one place actually at D2 in Denver called Regis University. That was the only place I'd spoken to. And I was talking obviously my people close to me, and they were like, this is how it is. There's pretty much it's late, this might have to be the route you take. And obviously in the moment I was looking at guys like, Derek White, guys like that had kind of gone that way, Duncan Robinson. And I'm like, all right. So I verbally committed there. 2 weeks later, I couldn't do it, uncommitted. By this point, it was, I'll say like the 20th of June, 25th of June, somewhere around there. Had nothing. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to reclass. I'll go the next year. I'll practice. I'd rather do that. And then probably a week later, Monty Sanders, who used to coach at Campbell, saw my YouTube footage from a friend, gave me a cold call one morning at 8 a.m. and was like, hey, I'm, so-and-so from Campbell University. Built a connection, talked about how I could fit and all this, and I was like, yeah, sure. Within 5 days, I was on a visit, me and my whole family. They flew me out, all of us out to North Carolina and visited for a day and a half, and I signed on the visit. And that was it. It was like I signed, went back home, got my visa, and showed up first day of class.
Okay. You honestly, Anthony, just answered like three of our next questions with that answer. So I'm just trying to go through seeing where we are at next. So yeah, let's fast forward a little bit. Obviously, you were named Big South Freshman of the Year at Campbell. And then your second season, you, as Cody said in the intro, was second team all CAA. So you go, as we said, Big South freshman year, CAA sophomore year. You have immense success at both levels. Now, obviously, it's Arizona, where we're going to talk about that transfer decision in a little bit. But Arizona is now obviously in the Big 12 with everything that's transpired this offseason and the dissolution of the Pac-12. But I mean, how do you think, your previous play in both the Big South and the CAA, which are obviously much smaller conferences in the Big 12 competition-wise, how do you think it prepared you to, take a jump like you're about to take?
Yeah, I think being at this level, whether you're at mid-major, low major, high major, just having that experience of kind of what a season takes, knowing what practice is like, weight room, all that. Like that was something I was new to my first year. I'd never lifted the way I lifted here. I never practiced the way I practice, especially as much as you do. I mean, you're practicing every day. So just being in that environment, whether you're playing against guys that are in the Big 12, guys ACC, or guys in the Big South, either way, you're practicing every day, giving it everything you got. You got great players, scout players, players of all things. And coaches kind of design a way that, all right, the skill level might not be equal, but we're going to try and make this scenario as realistic as possible. Whether that's, you see things in people's practice, even trainers do this, like players will have those kind of block guard things that make them taller, or pads, or like things like that. And it's just like you're training in unrealistic circumstances. So that when you get to the game, it's like, oh, this is really easy. So I think the 2 years I took at Campbell were probably the best decision I could have made, especially coming back after my freshman year, because my personal development was like the best thing for me. I don't think I would have been as ready as I am now if I had not have gone back. So like, although when I got there the first day of freshman year, it was tough. That first month was tough. But like in the long run, it's like I wouldn't be close to where I'm at had I have, taken the easy path and stayed home.
Mhm.
So like I think being at college is like, especially the big South in the CAA, that jump and going from being a freshman with a bunch of fifth years to then sophomore year being kind of the guy, that's like the most experience I can get to be at the big
Absolutely.
time.
Okay, awesome.
So I know that you got freshman of the year in the Big South. Um, was there any programs that were kind of looking to you to maybe transfer out, or was it kind of a steal deal that you're coming back to Campbell?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question because I entered the portal obviously at the end of freshman year, and I honestly didn't know what was going on. I thought I had a decent year. Most people around me said come back. Obviously, my coach wanted me to come back. I knew what we were losing, but I thought, I'll enter and let me see. Let me kind of test the waters. That was really my whole plan. Um, Let me see what happens. Kind of was in there for about a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I think. Um, you know, Kind of get a bombardment of calls at the start, and everyone from everywhere calls you. But it kind of went on for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I was like, this isn't really. It's not really feeling like this is like a legitimate thing. Like I would have calls from big time schools that are like, you know, this is our second last spot, or this is we've got 7 guys returning, you'll be coming in, this, and it's like, I don't really, like, it's going to be tough. I don't see, especially where I'm at right now, like I was in a place of comfortability. I just had a great year. I got to go start all fresh again, a brand new place. I don't really know if this is the best thing right now. So obviously I spoke to a bunch of people around me, close to me, coaches, everyone. And then obviously I knew who was leaving Campbell my freshman year. I mean, we had Ricky at fifth year, Zeus at fifth year. Like we had a bunch of guys graduating. And the whole time Campbell was, showing me ways that, yeah, you come back, this is the plan we got. This is the development we'll do. This is what our next steps are to getting to the next level. So once I kind of, I never turned them down. Like I always had that door open, and I was transparent with them the whole time. That's why they were so nice to me, trying to like get me to come back. So after I kind of listened to them and saw like, oh yeah, I can see this path. I can see what you're talking about. I was like, yeah, this makes sense. If we come back, we're not just gonna sit around and ride the highs of my freshman year. We're gonna come back when we get to work and then make the sophomore year better. So once I saw that, how committed they were, it was like a no-brainer for me.
Exactly. You were able to make that your team coming back,
Yeah,
and that's all that you could
absolutely.
ask for. As well as I don't think people really realize that it's really a group effort. The the bombardment of calls, everything like that, you have to really have an inner circle that trusts in you and you can confide in, honestly. And that seems like it was an amazing choice on your end, coming back for that second year at Campbell.
So let's talk about the end this past off season. Obviously, you committed to Arizona, Anthony, but more specifically, you tested the NBA draft waters this past year. Um, what type of feedback during the draft process did you get? And just kind of walk us through that process that ultimately led to, you deciding to commit to Arizona and come back to school rather than, keep your name in the draft.
Yeah, so obviously I tested the waters, did a few workouts, kind of at the end of May. So I left Campbell, did my pre-workout trainings and did all that. Then flew to a couple teams, worked out in front of them. They were great. I mean, great experience playing against, obviously, they bring in 6 guys. So it's not just me. I'm going against guys that were at Big East, ACC, Big 12. So like seeing other guys that on TV, working out with them, I was like, all right, this is kind of where they're at. These are legitimate prospects. Like they don't have eligibility left. They're staying. Let's see how I do. So I did those workouts, loved them, great experience, did really well, got great feedback. Obviously, there's pointers about like, yeah, we think you could do this, we think you could do that. But it was a great, month really of preparing and the actual workouts. Then the kind of decision to go to Arizona was kind of like, hey, we've seen you do this. Like freshman year, yeah, it was good. Sophomore year, you backed it up and got better. How can you translate this to a level where it's like we see this level as close to or similar to the next level?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can score the ball, you can defend. If you can defend someone in the Big 12, you're going to be able to defend someone in the NBA. If you can score or if you know how to space the floor, if your IQ's there, you'll be able to do that. It'll translate. That was really the reason to me kind of thinking about leaving and what they had said. It was like, take this step up. Let's see if you can do it there. Not as in like you have to score 20 a game with the Big 12, but if we see this as like, yeah, this will translate and we have the potential to get you there, it's like, you're done deal. So those workouts were really, I mean, I went in there with full intent. Like I was like, I'm going to give my all. If things go great, we're staying. If it's like, hey, come back, have a year, develop a little more, and then we'll look at you, then that's all I'll do. And that's kind of the gist I got. It was like kind of a tester almost. But I think that was the best experience I could have done because now, like, hopefully this season goes well. And then we do it again next year. And it's like, I know what to expect. I know what I'm going into. They know me already from, this past year. It just sets me up for the best opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Anthony, you're taking a very optimistic outlook, and I love it. I love that. Um, Always seeking opportunities to grow. That's amazing, and I'm sure that's well received by NBA front offices going forward. Um, you'll be a part of an extremely talented Arizona Wildcat team this coming season. How has the offseason been adjusting to the new environment?
Yeah, off-season's been good. We did summer, both summers. So we did 8 weeks of practice. That was good. Kind of, at the start, you had to find your feet, get used to the guys, learn each other's habits, play styles, and just like life in Arizona. I've never been on the West Coast, so getting used to that was something that took a little bit of time. Obviously, Campbell is an exception of a college. It's country town, North Carolina. It's completely different to 99% of every other college. So I had to get used to that kind of lifestyle and all that. But the summer was great. I mean, it's the best period to get kind of your feet wet, in my opinion. There's no class, there's no nothing. You just try and get used to basketball as best as you can. And yeah, left those 8 weeks and I was happy. I was super confident. I was like, I feel great in my decision. Coaches were on the same page. This team's looking good. We have a real chance. And then we came back to school and now it's like, all right, now I got to get used to like the lifestyle of actually being a student and going to a school where there's 60,000 people and not, 5,000. That was another adjustment. So I'm still getting used to it. It's been a week. But yeah, the guys are great. They helped me out. And a lot of these guys, like Caleb, JB, they're all transfers. They were in my position last year. So a lot of these guys understand it. Although they came from bigger places, but they understand like anywhere you transfer, whether it's high to high, mid to mid, it's still different. So they helped me out. So it's good.
Okay, so I actually had the opportunity twice to interview your new teammate Trey Townsend. Actually, I was first acquainted with Trey right before his senior year at Oakland. Obviously, since then, he won Horizon Player of the Year. He beat Kentucky, his Oakland team, in March Madness, and now he, just like you, is now transferring to Arizona. I bring Trey up just because I think, obviously, not only are you guys teammates now, but he's coming from Oakland in the Horizon. You're coming from Campbell, where he played in the Big South, CIA, all that. I mean, how does that feel? To have another guy in your locker room who's like been through something similar. Like they won Conference Player of the Year. They played as well as they could have at the in their conference, basically. And now, they're coming from a much smaller school, similar how you just said, you're all of a sudden on campus from 5,000 people to 60,000. I mean, just the learning curve aspect of that. I mean, how does it feel, that you're not alone, obviously, because Arizona, you have great teammates and a great support staff. Tommy Lloyd's obviously a hell of a coach as well.
Yep.
But I mean, just kind of walk me through that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, Trey is great to have because, like you said, it's someone that we kind of automatically have a thing in common. Um, whether that's, he's older, I'm younger, whatever the case is. I mean, he understands kind of how it works there and the differences that we see that others, just because, the level they've been at or like their upbringing in high school and stuff like that, they just don't understand that we understand. So it's just like getting that kind of humility to understand, like, wow, a place like this actually exists. Like that was my first thought when I came here. I was like, wow, we get all this like just for us. And like me and him be on the same page, like, that little bit of awe factor at the start. And everyone else is kind of like, this is normal. That's kind of that learning curve that we're talking about. Like me and him kind of get along in that way because we know, all right, we've been here. It wasn't tough. I mean, when I was at camp, I loved it. Like, in my opinion, I had more than enough. And then you come to a place here and it's like, we got, 50 times the amount. And it's like, wow. So having Trey has been great because it's like someone that helps you not get like caught up in it, keeps you grounded, remember where you come from. But it's like he worked hard at mid-major level, I worked hard, we both respect each other, and we're both ready for it. Like, it's not like you mean any less from where you come from, where you started. So Trey's been great. I mean, he's a little different. He's a fifth year, so he's a little different to me. I'm a little bit more on campus. He's, graduating and stuff like that, but still practices and learning all that. It's the same. So he's been great to help me out. We kind of
Awesome.
get through that connection of, the mid-major level.
Absolutely.
So you're listed at 6'6", which is crazy good positional size as a guard. And I believe you have true guard skills like playmaking, scoring attribution, stuff like that. Do you feel like your role may change in the new system? And if so, what are you working on developing for that new role?
Yeah, so we got a lot of depth. I mean, we got a lot of guys now, a lot of great talents. Us in the backcourt, us guys, us four, we're what some of the maybe the best backcourt or up there for some of the best backcourt. So like having that around me is something that I'm not super familiar with. Like I've been around great teammates, great guys at Campbell, high school, all that. But it's like here, it's like you're talking about some of the best guys in college. So like having guys like JB who are primary playmakers, ball dominant playmakers. They want to find guys. They want to get in the paint and dish out, shots for others. That kind of takes a little load off me. Like not saying that I won't do that stuff still. Like I'm still gonna play the same way. I still got the same freedom, like all that kind of stuff. But having that outlet to be like, oh yeah, I can rely on this guy to do this, and I can catch shoot. I can get looks that I never really had sometimes. So having that depth around me, like JB's playmaking, KJ's athleticism, obviously Caleb's shot creating and all that kind of stuff. That's something that I'm excited for. In terms of role, I think the role's the same. We play so fast that every guy has to be able to do everything. And luckily for me, like we talked about, height and getting those guard skills, I can go one, I can go two, I can go three. I can interchange any of those spots. Like we get foul trouble in the game, or someone happens, or someone gets hurt, we can pretty much move me anywhere to make it work. That's what I like about our team. So us four guards have so much versatility, which I think is something that's a little underrated.
So we actually are doing a series right now for our new basketball. We basically just launched recently last weekend a basketball content creation platform. It's called the Center Hub. Right now we're doing a series called 82 and 72 where we're previewing our top ranked 82 college basketball teams in the country. We have Arizona, I believe, 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me why we are too low by having them 8th.
Way too low.
Yeah.
Um, I think I think it's hard at the start of the year, obviously, because each team's so new, and
Yeah.
we got a lot of guys that are new. Like, yes, we got a couple of returners, but we got new bigs, a lot of bigs this year. Obviously, me, but guys that were different last year than they're going to be this year.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, we lost a couple guys. JB stepping out. KJ's in his second year now. Caleb's coming back for his fifth, and now I'm transferring for a mid-major. Our backcourt is taking steps that we've never really been at yet. So that kind of unknown, but it's kind of like that scary unknown of like how good we really could be. I think that's something that kind of takes us a little higher. Like, start of the year might happen, and then we realize what it's like, and it's like, oh, like they're getting better.
Yeah.
Oh, they're comfortable now. Like this is a second year KJ. He's got that confidence now. He knows what college is like. I'm at the high major level, but it's like I got the experience now. It's like this really ain't that different. I can compete just as hard. Caleb's gonna be the same, and then JB is like, oh, I'm the primary guy now. I'm bringing the ball up. I'm not having a fight to get 10 assists to play. I'm playing. So like I feel like that unknown is something that can take us honestly further than a lot of teams because we don't have really an expectation. Like we're not guys that are coming back that are like, you have to reach this level. So we got that pressure weighing us down. It's like we're just gonna play. And we play so fast, we play such a, you know, I don't know how to say it, but like our offense is so fluid, the ball moves so fast that like a shot can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, so it's really hard to guard when you got me, Caleb, KJ, all in the perimeter. JB, it's like, who's going to drive? Who's going to shoot it? Is it going to be an extra pass, two passes? Like, you just don't know. There's too much firepower in the backcourt. That's what I think is something that will take us far.
I was going to say, you just also talked about the versatility in our last question as well. Obviously, going back, Trey Towson, he played the 5 for Oakland, and they played a very small, basically small ball lineup exclusively. So it's another dynamic, if Coach Lloyd wants to throw in Trey at the 5 to give a different dynamic. I mean, I just think the versatility, if Krivas needs a break, like there's just so many. And I think the unknown is what makes you guys so exciting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how things transpire, and I'm sure 8 is going to be too low. I mean, you guys are going to be competing for a national championship this year, so we're looking forward
I
to it.
hope so. I mean, I don't see why we can't. I mean, I've been in practice now 9 weeks, 10 weeks. I see what we got, and I mean, we're not even, we're a slither of the way through our offense, our defense. Like we've just hit the surface.
Okay.
We haven't played yet. Like it's like I can see it, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah, as are we.
Now, talking about your greatest accomplishment, Anthony, do you have a memorable moment or, you know, accomplishment that's really stood out to you in your basketball career?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's a few that obviously I'm grateful to have. Freshman of the year was a big one. Obviously, coming into college, I had no idea like, any of the stuff. I didn't know those awards. So kind of seeing how the season took place and then like getting that was something cool. Um, Having the run we did my freshman year, that was something I never forget. I mean, obviously, I wish we won. That would have been my greatest thing. Um, yeah, freshman year is something that I really really appreciate to have. Um, Obviously, got second team last year, um, but haven't really hit that team achievement yet. That's something that I'm really looking for, and that was a big reason why I came to Arizona. Like I'm trying to get something that we all achieved, like you said, national championship or a Final Four or Big 12 champions, something like that, where I can like we can get on the ladder and we can cut the net. That's something I haven't got yet. Now we were super close my freshman year, but it didn't happen. So I'm still searching for that.
Well, I think you landed in the right spot. If any indication of the versatility and the pace of your offense that you're stating, it's going to be a great year for you guys.
Okay, so we only have a few more questions, Anthony, but what was there a specific moment or just even a year that you played basketball that stuck out when, you sort of felt like you took your game like to the next level? Like when you realized, okay, like I got substantially better or okay, I could do this basically.
Yeah, you said a specific game or a moment.
Moment, game, I mean, whatever you think, whenever you realize came to that realization that, basketball is a realistic, path for you.
Yeah, I mean, I freshman year, I would say halfway through,
Okay.
kind of once I found my feet. Obviously, I came in as a freshman. We had a bunch of guys that were older. So at the start, I was kind of seeing where I fit, and then things kind of turned my way. And then by the end of the year, obviously, I was the most confident I'd ever been. That point, I would say, kind of conference of my freshman year, January, February, around there, I started realizing, okay, like this isn't, I'm not fighting on the court to, not make mistakes. I'm fighting out there to like win. Like I'm making winning plays. That was kind of a moment I would say that I realized like, okay, like I'm actually at this level now. Like I don't have to worry each night if it's going to be a good day or a bad day. Like I've done enough work where my bad day is going to be, you know, 10 points and, 5 rebounds. That's like a bad day. So like when I kind of hit that point, it was like, all right, I can kind of relax and calm down a little bit, not stress so much. And then obviously coming back sophomore year, I would say that whole year was like I was the most confident I've ever been. I knew what coaches had in me. I knew what my teammates had in me. Like I didn't have any stresses about I'm going to play, what's going to look like, how we're going to do. It was just like go out there and just play. And like every night was like so much fun because like you could do anything. And it wasn't like I was just, chucking 40 shots a game, step backs, half courts. It was like we were efficient, we were scoring, we were winning games. It was like it was the most fun I'd had. So I'd say probably middle of freshman year, I realized like I have a chance. Obviously in the tournament was a big thing. That kind of got me on the map a little bit. Um, and then from that point on, it was like, yeah, this is the goal. So for probably freshman year, because I started getting some looks freshman year, especially tournament, especially after I hit that game winner in the tournament. After that, I went to media and there was a few NBA guys, and that was probably the first time that I realized like, wow, this is a chance.
And I'm sure it helps, you said halfway through your freshman year that, you have coaches trust. And, you said even on a bad day, you have 10 and 5, but even on a bad day, if you're making a mistake or two on the court, you don't have to worry about like the next guy breathing down your neck. Like, you're not going to get benched just for a few bad plays. So I'm sure, earning coaches trust helps as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if it weren't for basketball, what would you want to be doing? Like, what would be your career goals? And I ask this question to almost everybody I interview, and a
Yeah.
lot of them say, honestly, I haven't really thought about it because basketball is all I ever really knew. Because I know a lot of you guys have been playing, working your whole life towards this. But I mean, what's your major?
I mean, sports management.
Okay, so would you want to use that degree for something? I mean, what would you
Um,
want to be doing if it weren't for basketball?
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because you see a lot of guys, they grow up and their basketball's in their hands since they were 4. Me,
Yeah.
it was kind of like 16, 17. It was like, sure, I'll give this a try. Like, so if I hadn't played basketball, I mean, probably another sport. Honestly, I mean, I'm always around sports. I'd probably be back home and playing like AFL or trying to at least, and then or cricket or something different, some other sport. Um, but yeah, that's honestly the only thing I can think about. I mean,
How come?
I barely made college. Like I got one offer and I went to Campbell. Like, so I just scoped into college. So
So
like,
how competitive are you then? Because I know you said another sport. Like, are you like one of those guys that I know obviously you play to win, we already established that, but like even if you're like bowling or something with friends, like do you need to win? Like mini
yeah,
golf, you have
yeah,
to
we
win.
bowl here. We go
Okay.
up as a team. But I played everything, and like I mean, I don't like to say like how I am. I think that's other people's job, but
Okay.
I love to be the best in everything. Like I play cricket, and like I want to be the best batter, best bowler. I play football. I'm gonna be the number one target. I want to play bowling. I'm gonna, I want to beat Caleb. I want to beat JB. I'm gonna be like at the 200 range. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want in every sport.
Okay.
So I would have found a sport for sure because I could not play sports. But if it wasn't basketball, I'd probably be somewhere back home playing sports.
Okay. Awesome.
So I like that question.
That's amazing to hear. The competitiveness, it drives a lot of us, and I have to agree with you on that one. Um, Now looking at your game as a whole, what do you consider your greatest strength on the court?
Um, yeah, it's always an interesting one because I always get asked that quite a bit, and I find that I don't know exactly what my greatest strength is. Like I feel like I'm kind of I would call it all rounder a little bit, kind of like that. I mean, I always used to say my versatility was something that was the best thing. Now, obviously, that's not like a physical like skill, but like in my mind, that is like that's the best thing I have. Um, but it changes. I mean, I feel like depending on what the team needs or what I'm asked to do on that team, I kind of adapt to that. Like pre-college, I was just scoring a bunch. And then obviously I got to college and it was like, you're no longer the big dog. You're a freshman now. So finding my way was making reads, making an extra pass or talking on defense, like little things. And then obviously you get that confidence, your role gets a little bigger and it was like, all right, now scoring. So scoring's always been like kind of in my DNA. Like I've always just scored. I've always had a knack for scoring at all three levels, shooting, floaters, mid-range, touch, layup, everything. I've always, worked on that. But skill, I mean, shooting's always been something I've done. Shooting kind of help opens the whole game, especially here at Arizona now. Kind of the practices I've been under, like Campbell, we played a lot slower pace, a lot more get in the paint, a lot more around the rim kind of stuff. Whereas Arizona now, it's like a little more fast threes, quick hitters. Because if you miss, we got rebounds. If you make, we're pressing. Like it's a little different style. So I would say shooting, which is something that's definitely going to translate here. Getting that, speed of the release down. But I would definitely say probably shooting. But I still feel like it's that the unknown I'm talking about. Like people look at me and they're like this, kind of skinny kid who's just going to probably shoot threes. And then it's like you get a rebound, and you're dribbling, between the legs, behind the back, and layup. And it's like, where'd that come from? I feel like that's kind of how it was for me until like people started scouting and stuff. But yeah, versatility is always my answer for that.
I have to agree with that one. Your versatility, you're like a Swiss Army knife. And if anybody hasn't checked out your game, if you're just now tuning into this podcast and you don't know who Anthony Dell'Orso is, I suggest you watch his tape. He, like he's outlined before, he's very versatile, and I'm excited to see what brings for Arizona this year and your role, because I'm excited to see how they utilize you.
That's a good analogy. I like that. Swiss Army knife. I might have to start using that.
So, in what areas do you feel like your game still needs improvements, and sort of what steps are you taking, to make those improvements?
Yeah, I mean, physicality has always been something that has been on the downside of my kind of career, just how my build is. Um, and since I got to Arizona, obviously at Campbell, I mean, I'd never lifted really, so that was a big jump. And then now coming to Arizona is an even bigger jump. So obviously we've been in the weight room. We did 8 weeks of summer, like I said. We've been in the weight room all the time, lifting weights that I've never even imagined. So like I've already put on in the 8 weeks of summer, I put on almost 20 pounds,
How much you weigh now?
195.
Okay.
So I put on like I wasn't near 190 at Campbell, I can tell you that. So like I put on almost 20 pounds being here at Arizona, just from a point of resources around food. Obviously, that's a big thing, and being able to like eat 24/7. But the weightlifting is like it's no joke. And Coach Rounds like he's with me all the time. It was at the start, the first kind of 4 weeks, it was really just me and him lifting alone. Like I'd be getting there at 7:30 lifts just by myself, and he'd be spotting me every exercise, and it was just one on one. because I knew, I knew going into the NBA workouts, I knew coming to Big 12 that that's the number one area I was gonna have to get better at. Because to me, that physicality and that strength kind of builds into other things. Now, defensively, obviously being able to guard, one-on-one, chest in front of the ball, that was something that at Campbell I could get away with. Here, you can't get away with that. Everyone on the floor is you're getting going out. Like, you need to be able to guard. So I would say those two things, getting stronger, defensively kind of, I guess, locking in a little bit more, just staying connected, being, yeah, I'm going to get a stop rather than, oh, I need to score next play. I'm going to get a stop because then once we get that stop, we get the rebound, it's like we're scoring. Like we're gonna fast break in Arizona, we score, like we shoot or we dunk, and that's it. Like we're gonna score on the fast break.
And the defense aspect should help, because when you have such a heavy offensive load, it's difficult for any player to play both ends of the court. It's taxing on you.
Definitely.
So definitely, you always had it in you, but now I think that you're not going to be the primary option every night. That'll help with the defensive end as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got so many options. That's what you get when you get to this level. There's no longer you can't have one man team at this level.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, even at the CAA, I mean, there was teams that had some guys that were good, but like a lot of the good teams, like the College of Charleston, Wilmington, Towson, they weren't one man shows. Like they were collective groups, and the depth is what got them to. Charleston killed us because of depth. So when you get this level, everyone's a player. So you have to be able to guard, and it makes it easier because then you don't go on the offensive end, like you said, and you just, you have to dribble for 25 seconds by yourself. So, yeah, that's definitely some truth to that.
All right, Anthony, we got our final question. After your stellar freshman year, you appeared on many draft media personalities' radars as a player to watch in that major conference. This has all changed now. Now you're going to be nationally televised for most games in the Big 12. Have you taken notice how you're garnering more attention publicly, and how have you managed it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like obviously the name and being in a place like this, it kind of just naturally draws attention, whether you want it or not. That's something that I've kind of gotten used to a little bit. I know every player says that I don't pay attention to it much, but I kind of see myself as a pretty simple guy. I never really worried about all this stuff. I mean, I got to Campbell and I was happiest kid on earth, and I didn't care whether there was 5,000 people or 60,000. Like, so I feel like that kind of extra media, I don't really think about it too much. I mean, it is what it's going to be. Like you're going to play, and however it turns out, it turns out. There's things out of your control. That coach Campbell would always tell me, like, control what you can control. If you can't control it, don't stress about it. That's essentially what I'm doing. If you get media, if you get people want to talk to you, or people who are out, like, people saying trash talking or texting you, especially after. I mean, that's the one thing I haven't experienced. After games, you have a bad game, people going at you, or you have a good game and it's like you ride the highs. I kind of try and stay equal keel. You play a good game, I'm the same guy. I play a bad game, I try and be the same guy. I mean, because when I try to ride the highs and lows, the highs are super high and the lows get really low. So I'm still adjusting to it. I'm sure it's going to get a lot bigger once the season starts, but I'm kind of excited for it, honestly. I like to have some fun with it, so I think it'll be cool.
Most definitely. I think that that new media presence might be a little interesting at the very start, but I'm sure you'll be growing accustomed to it, and it's a great opportunity. Well, Anthony, where can people find you on social media talking about social media so they can follow your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I use obviously Instagram. I'm at Antho2003. Still got, the childhood name going. Twitter, just my name. That's really it. I don't really use too much. Like I said, I'm a pretty simple guy. I go to practice, go to class, play cards with the guys, go home, lift weights. That's it. I just enjoy basketball. I enjoy being around guys, the fellas. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. Anthony, you've been amazing today. I want to thank you again for joining us today and telling your story. I mean, you came from this, mid-major, and now you're at Arizona. I wanted you to have a platform to really tell who you are as a person. Would be more than happy to have you back on to revisit some of these questions, later on in the season, see how they've transpired for you. And I wish you all the best on your future successes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great. Yeah, anytime. More than happy to.